Oh, got it.
And go, she says in chat.
Right, we're ready to go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our panel today on LGBTQ plus page to screen. My name is Jay. I'm from the review blog Joyfully Jay, and I am really excited to welcome you guys all here today. We've got a great panel, so I am going to welcome them and give them all a chance to introduce themselves, and then we are going to talk about books and movies and going from one to the other and all sorts of fun stuff today. So I'm really excited today. We've got a great panel. We have authors Casey Byrne, Katey Hawthorne, and David R. Slayton. And I'm going to give them each a chance to introduce themselves to you and tell you a little bit more about what they write, maybe some genres and maybe some highlights for those of you who haven't read them before. So why don't I start off with Katey? You're on the left on my screen here. So you want to jump us in?
Yeah, I'm Katey. I write all over the rainbow. I try to do all the letters, all the things, and I'm really into that. Today, actually, I have an FF novella coming out from JMS Books called Yes Today, and it has cute girls kissing in it. It's a contemporary, but I probably write paranormal most often. I think the only thing I haven't done yet is sci-fi, mainly because I love it so much that I'm afraid to do it. But yeah, that's me.
Right, David?
I'm David R. Slayton. I'm the author of the Adam Binder novels, White Trash Warlock and Trailer Park Trickster, which are out now.
Oh my gosh, I just put together who you were. Oh my gosh.
Like behind him in the thing up there.
Lisa Horan from Novel Approach has gushed about those books on Jeff and Will's podcast. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but like it just clicked in my mind who you are. Oh my gosh, sorry. I'm so sorry. Please go on. I've heard wonderful things about your books.
They're really good. I love them.
Oh, thank you. You're gonna make me blush. I'm actually Casey's Toronto Tales. The second one is actually one of my favorite books. So so I'm a little like, you know,
we love each other.
Just standing all over the place here.
Oh, so the third book, Debbie Druitt, is out October 18th. We're doing a cover reveal. I have like 50 things going on next week in book news. But Coastal Magic has got the scoop first. So I just sold a gay geeky rom-com that is heavily Star Trek influenced called To Catch a Geek. That will be out from Crazy Maple sometime. I'm writing as fast as I can. We just sold a spinoff to the Adam Binder series set in that universe called Rogue Community College, which, to kind of borrow from Katey, is all across the rainbow. And I just sold my first adult epic fantasy, and if you're called Last Son of the Night, which will be out in hardback at some point too. Again, I don't have release dates yet. I just got all this crazy news like just the last couple of days.
That's awesome.
So I'm kind of bouncing out of my chair, writing furiously and highly caffeinated. But here's my 20-30 second bio. I'm originally from Guthrie, Oklahoma, and I grew up outside of town in the swamp, in the woods. I'm a high school dropout, much like Adam, my main character. And I couldn't find books with diverse characters. I certainly couldn't find books with gay men where we were heroes, where we weren't dying of AIDS or coming out or tragedy or family, you know, performing our trauma. And I certainly couldn't find anything like my books, fantasy or speculative fiction, that featured us in a heroic way. So I'm very excited about this panel because it's very near and dear to my heart. I'm a giant TV nerd. I love Star Trek, I love Star Wars. There's a million Podameron action figures up there. And the representation of us in media means so much to me. And I'm excited to talk about it because I feel like it is changing and it's getting cooler. So.
Hell yes.
Casey?
So I'm Casey Byrne. I read gay romance and paranormal and sci-fi and contemporary flavors. And I apologize if I echo because I'm in a very house at the moment. I'm mid relocation across the country. And next month, my husband is scheduled for heart surgery. So I'm doing pretty much it all on my own right now. It's great.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, big hugs.
Yeah, it's been been a challenge. Yeah, so I'm in Orlando right now, trying to get the house together. Yeah, such
In
as
a
it is.
giant empty room, right?
In the giant empty room, exactly. So
And we're happy to have you.
Yeah, thanks for making it. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Frankly.
I'm also holding my phone and resting on the TV tray, which is the only sort of horizontal surface I have.
So if you get tired and start
warrior.
listing at some point, then we'll know what's going on.
At least if you need a dance break, you've got all that space and
I
just
know.
This is
pour
true.
through.
So true.
Right, right. If there's a lull in conversation, you can interpretive dance for us.
The
All right,
likelihood
so
is none.
so just to start us off, and I think that, you know, a little bit to David's point, is that I'd love to start us off sort of with a general conversation about what makes books good for adaptation and why now might be the time that we're starting to sort of see that adaptation page to screen expanding beyond sort of the more traditional male-female romances to more of the LGBTQ umbrella. Obviously, there are plenty of movies that have taken place already, and I have some things I'd want to talk about more specifically, but definitely I think we're starting to see that tide turn. And why do you think that's happening now? And what do you think sort of makes something, I guess that's two questions, but what do you think sort of makes something ripe for that transition from page to screen?
It has to have the right, it has to hit the right notes. And to me, I feel like it can't just be about the character's identity. It has to have plot, it has to have story, it has to have all the stuff that makes great, compelling television or great, compelling movies. And of course, television is where it's at right now in film. And I feel like it needs to be beyond. And if you look at places where it's successful, when you have things like Star Trek Discovery, or you have Grey's Anatomy, the character's identity is definitely present and it's a factor, but it's not what's driving the story. There has to be good writing, and the writing can't be centered on, again, those tired old things of coming out and AIDS and all that. Like we've had all that, you know. And I think audiences want more. They want what we write. They want stuff that goes beyond those conversations.
And I think, I mean, I'm not sure how old you all are, but I'm kind of like on that end of Gen X thing where like, so I'm 40 basically. And I think our generation grew up really hungry for things that the generation before didn't have. Like wait a minute, I have this great book cover. There was all we got was like this pulp fiction stuff that never had a happy ending because it couldn't be published if the queer character had a happy ending. I love this postcard, by the way. This is like my favorite. And I think we grew up wanting more, because that was, if we could find anything, that was all we could find, because we were kind of on the beginning of the internet too, in my generation. So, we were immediately looking for that. And like, I still remember the first time I heard of slash fiction was Star Trek Voyager. I was just looking for Voyager stuff, and it was like Paris Kim Slash Party, which I do not ship, by the way. But I love them both. But it was, we were starting to discover those things, and we were wanting to see, not, being heroic, like David said, and not being tragic characters who ended up with this tragic ending. The bury your gays trope is like way over. Like, we're done with that. So, yeah.
Oh God, and when it still happens, like it happens every once in a while, we're like, really? We're doing this again?
I know.
We're done with this.
Yeah, like every time it happens, I'm just like, really though? I feel like it's not 1950. Like, we're good now. Thanks.
I'm just laughing about the Star Trek slash, because the first one that I ever came across, and I wasn't even aware that it was really a thing, but it was a Kirk Spock in a mailed
that was like
out,
the first big one, right?
That was the first slash. That's actually where the term slash comes from, is Kirk. That is what the originator of the term is from. Kirk
Slash fiction. Yeah.
But so this newsletter thing, I'm like, what is this?
Right. I didn't know what it was either.
Well, and it's funny because growing up where I did, I wasn't allowed to read any secular books, except my mom had a soft spot for Star Trek.
Nice.
And she bought me the novelization of Star Trek the Motion Picture at a used shop for like $0.25. That'll tell you a little bit about the time and place too, right? And there's a line in it where Gene Roddenberry, who helped with the novelization, wrote and said he addressed the slash. And remember, this is what, the late 70s when this is happening? This was 76, 76 with previous or just after Star Wars or something, 79. And he said, you know, he has Kirk say, I have no problem with homosexuality, but I prefer women. But it was at the time, to be a teen in Oklahoma reading that, it's like there's a place for me in this franchise. There's a place for me on this thing that I love so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And those first experiences like that are so formative, and the ones that we had were kind of like that, like they were kind of hidden in things, you know, like I grew up like reading comics, and like ElfQuest had, you know, like same-sex characters that loved each other, although it has been controversial if you're into ElfQuest, which I don't think anyone is, but but really though they loved each other, and like they would like spend the night together, and you know, and it was just thing, like it was fine. And I was like, oh my gosh, like someone wrote this, even though it was kind of like a side thing. I mean, you know. And
don't think I didn't spot your North Star action figure behind you.
Yeah, North Star and Aurora, they're my jam.
And that your chair matches, so.
Yes. Yeah, love them. And for those who don't know, North Star is Marvel Comics' first openly gay character. He got married a few years ago to an awesome dude. Love him and his twin sister, who is amazing.
And one of the things I really like about North Star's characterization, and kind of like Stamets in Discovery, is North Star is a dick.
Oh, he's such a dick.
He's not a nice, you know, he's not this perfect ideal character, and his gayness doesn't make. Who watched Glee? Do you remember when Glee got to the point where Kurt had gone through the gay bashing syndrome storyline?
Right.
And then we had Saint Kurt. Right. Now that Kurt has gone through a gay bashing storyline and been bullied for being gay, from that point forward, Kurt's perfect, and he's not allowed to be flawed in any way. And I really liked getting back to like Stamets in Discovery, who's very intellectually superior, and he's kind of a jerk. And again, it's like I like that the characters can be more nuanced than tragic or
saintly,
you know, or the perfect, because they suffer for their homosexuality. I really liked that North Star was and is still kind of a jerk.
He's still a dick. I mean, he's like a little bit nicer now, only to kids. He's a good teacher, but otherwise still a dick, you know.
Yeah, the same with Stamets, I would say. Stamets.
Oh, 100%. Stamets is all about lashing out.
Excuse me, sorry. COVID recovery. I'm a little coffee still.
Plague bearer.
What?
You're the plague bearer.
Yes, sorry. Unfortunately, none of you are close enough to catch anything. So do you think that we are seeing increasing of mainstream, whether it be movie, TV, sort of media that features LGBTQ characters? Do you think that this is slow progression? Do you think that we are seeing sort of more growth now? I mean, to me, it feels like that the last maybe 5 years has definitely been a shift, but I don't know if that's just my perspective of not being familiar as much with some of sort of that older media, but it definitely seems like, we've got stuff on, Disney Channel. We have, just a much more growth than we used to. Do you think that this is a greater change coming recently? Do you think that this is just sort of the next slow growth? I don't know if my question is making any sense.
I think it is. I'm very caffeinated, so I'm very chatty. Sorry.
No, please.
If I'm being the over talky. But it's interesting you mentioned Disney, because they wouldn't air Love Victor.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Disney, it's all about the money. So
Right.
you asked that question of why is it there, and it's very much like what you saw with Black Panther, right? Wait, Black people watch movies? We should make more Black movies, which is phenomenal. And Black Panther is an incredible film.
Black movies made by Black artists too, like Black directors, and
and that's, I think what you've got here is something similar. Of they realize there's a market. So to me, I'm a bit cynical about this stuff. They're not going to make a show with more diversity unless they see a monetary reason.
Sure.
So, and when we all say, oh, wow, that thing has somebody like me, I'm going to watch it, I'm going to buy it, I'm going to read it. And we vote with our dollars when it comes to our entertainment. So when they see that people want that content, they will make more of it. To me, that's all it really comes down to, is they see that the diversity of the audience, and there are still cuts to that. For example, the fact that, you know, the MCU is very careful about what they will or will not portray because of China, because of the market of China.
Yeah.
And so you still get some, you know, queer coded characters who are not only out in order to widen the global market there. You know, we're still, of course, it's very much on my mind right now with the events in Ukraine today.
Right.
But, you know, any LGBTQ content is still fully banned in Russia. My books will not be read in Russia, though. It's funny, I've had a few Russian reviews because people have brought them over. But they can't be openly purchased there. So.
Right.
But there's definitely dollars, I think, that drives most of the change.
And they kind of tentatively poke at stuff to see too, because like I do have Disney Plus because they own Star Wars and I want to watch all the Boba Fett. But there's a show called Owl House, and it's a cartoon, and it's like Disney's first non-binary character in it, and they are a wonderful character, a great character. They don't come into like season 3, but they're fantastic. And I thought it was interesting that they just kind of slid that out there, you know, like kind of looking for the reaction. And it's a cartoon. I mean, it's family friendly. Like it's it's weirder than what you'd expect from Disney, but I highly recommend Owl House. But it's interesting to see that they are kind of pushing at that to see what they can do and what parents are going to let them do and what's going to get them good attention, bad attention, and if there's a difference. Yeah, it's been interesting lately.
Yeah, Disney's very savvy.
Oh yeah, they're scary.
And Casey, you're right there, so you can just go ask them, hey, what are y'all doing?
Well, I feel like I shouldn't be actually commenting on this particular part because of my day job. So, yeah.
Yeah, we'll move past that one.
Fair enough.
Let's pivot.
I did actually want to talk briefly, or maybe not briefly, about Love Simon, Love Victor, just because I think that for a lot of general viewers out there, people who are not necessarily romance readers, when Love Simon came out originally, obviously Simon and the Homo Sapien Agenda by Becky Albertalli, when that book became a movie, I think that for a lot of people who don't read romance, who don't maybe read YA, and who don't read anything featuring LGBTQ characters, was the first time that they really went to the movie theater and saw a movie featuring a main character who was gay. And so to me, I think that that was a big moment in the sense of bringing, you know, a page to screen, but also bringing sort of to a mainstream movie theater, not something that you're only going to find on Netflix, but something back in the day when we went to movies where, you know, teenage kids were going in groups to see it. So, you know, sort of what are your thoughts on that moment, I guess, and why you think that book was one that sort of translated for people in terms of getting that mainstream attention? Or maybe that's just where the marketing dollars went. Sometimes a lot of it is at the whim of the marketing people in the, you know, the publishers. But do we have thoughts on that at all?
I actually think it was pretty brilliant because so many people conflate sexualism and homosexuality. Like the assumption that it's very, very sex prominent. And since that isn't the case, because Love Simon's, you know, YA, like it removes that piece of it. And I think that maybe was revelatory for people, if that makes sense, like that this can happen without it being
all about
sex. So I think that was actually really brilliant to sort of, and I think that probably was why it did as well as did, if that makes, you know.
And also sometimes, you know, having a white guy as the main character can be kind of your Trojan horse, you know, where like you that being kind of the default narrative in Hollywood, which of course is changing, but I think that's really helpful, you know, as a, you know, and then there's things like Moonlight, which is about Black men. And I think that a lot of people are less likely, you know, in whatever, where I live in the middle of nowhere in Ohio to, you know, go and see that than they are. So it's like a good kind of Trojan horse thing. You set this up like, oh, look, it's a white guy and you're comfortable with
cute, and
this.
he's 17 and
Yeah, like he's
And
not,
he's very
you know,
straight presented. He's very cis. He's
yeah.
not queer. He's not effeminate. He's, you know,
Mhm.
he's very, and it's been interesting when you compare that to other movies or situations that go.
I think it's like
deeper.
an easy introduction in that way. Yeah.
He's a very safe kid. He's sexless,
Yeah.
like, to Casey's point, which again slips it under the radar, makes it more socially palpable. I think it was an important movie for a lot of people. I think it might have been a watershed movie. I personally found it very lacking because it didn't deal with deeper conversations, partly because it was a movie where I didn't have enough time.
Yeah, I didn't read the book.
Yeah, partly because it's YA, and partly because it was very sexless, because having been a teenage boy, it's on your mind a lot. But that said, it's interesting to compare that to Love, Victor, which is being a TV series on Hulu. In the first season, they were aiming for Disney Plus, so they were very much in the same Simon vein.
Right.
Season 2, though, when they realized they were going to be on Victor, they get to talk about things like your first time with a guy. The nuances of, and I love that Love, Victor started with Victor emailing Simon and being like, screw you for being white and having liberal parents and having a level of acceptance that I don't. And that starts the dialogue between Victor and Simon, which narrates the first season. So I do think it was a watershed movie. I personally wanted more of the conversation, which is nice because I'm getting that in Love, Victor, which I adore. Totally love Victor, that show.
Yeah, I will say I've watched both seasons, and the difference in season 1 and season 2, again, because one was targeted originally at Disney Plus, one was targeted, you know, they knew it was going to Hulu. And I mean, they really went there. I mean,
that's the Trojan horse.
On-screen sex, I mean, buying condoms. I mean, I was really excited to see that it was really out there, you know, not just from the idea that like, yes, teens really have sex, but also, you know, gay sex, and we're seeing it and we're talking about it. And I mean, I think that it wasn't really interesting to see how that tone shift was able to happen once they were no longer sort of targeting the Disney audience.
And it's also the Trojan horse. You get it in there, and then once you're in, then you bring stuff up, then you focus on POC narratives, then you know what I mean? Like it's smart.
There's an important class conversation happening there too. Because I grew up poor and rural with a very religious mother, and that's what Victor is dealing with: financial, religious. Obviously, I'm not a person of color, so I don't have that aspect to it. And I like that Victor's not perfect. He, you know, that the episode Jay's reference, there's a whole scene with his boyfriend and his mom, and I'm like, you know, that's Victor, you might be in the wrong here. I think that was really important. I like that the characters are nuanced. They're not just, but again, in a movie you got 2 hours and a little bit of that Trojan horse thing, like Katey said.
Okay. So any other I have some other ones that I want to bring up that have been page to screen, but does anybody else have anything they want to jump in on before I do?
I actually just had a thought. Yeah. So in like fantasy, we're starting to see a little bit more of it too, but the Wheel of Time series, which I read up to like book 8 and then got really tired of because it just got like really wanky, and has like the worst main character ever. He's so annoying. But interestingly, I watched the first season on Amazon. I think it's on Amazon. And they made one of my favorite characters queer, which I don't remember from the book. I don't think she was. And I was like, epic. Like, I really liked that this series that was written ages ago. It wasn't ages ago. I mean, I was in college when I read it, so I guess that was kind of ages ago, but still. And they made this character queer, and it actually added a lot to the storyline. And I thought it was kind of genius to see the difference between what was on the page and what the studio 30 years later realized they could do with it. I thought that was cool. So yeah, that was kind of fun if you're into fantasy.
So I think we've talked about sort of the LGBTQ piece and bringing that out of books into movies and TV. But, you know, the panel is sort of the concept of page to screen. And one of the things that I think we haven't really touched on is sort of romance in general and bringing that to the mainstream. And I feel like it would be hard to have a page to screen discussion about anything romance without talking Bridgerton. And I bring it up because I read the books, you know, 10 years ago, and Bridgerton became sort of this just, you know, phenomenon. You've got a really popular, I don't know if we lost David, if we just lost video.
Just had to scratch my face. So I
Oh,
didn't know
okay. I was
watch
going to say,
it.
you know, we have a really popular, you know, producer. We have a series of books that I think were well fit for the sort of seasonal style of television. But I think that to me, Bridgerton brought the idea of romance, and that regular everyday people can be reading romance and watching romance in a way that I think really ties well with what we're talking about, in the sense that I think there's a lot of people out there who feel like, you know, sort of romance is still 1980s bodice rippers and that there's nothing more to it. And that suddenly, you know, everyday people who've never read romance are watching Bridgerton and sort of suddenly saying, well, hey, maybe romance is a genre that I could be into. Maybe it's not what I think, you know, it was 30 years ago, 50 years ago. So do we have thoughts on Bridgerton? Love it, hate it, love the idea of it?
Haven't watched it, but my hyper straight father of three brother is so into it. It's hysterical. He's gonna get so mad if this gets added. My wife is watching it and I happen to be in the room like, dude, you're so into it though. So I think that's adorable. But I think it's also the fact that, again, there was a whole Twitter debacle this week where someone's like, why do romance covers have to have shirtless men? I'm like,
Yeah, I saw that.
Shush.
Right.
The problem isn't that romance novels have shirtless men on them. The problem is that people are shamed for reading romance novels.
Right.
Stop it. You know, people should be more allowed to like what they like, and I think that if they are allowed to like what they like, I'm not the world's biggest romance reader. At least I wasn't until the pandemic, and now I'm like, oh, I get it. Guaranteed happy ending.
Right.
And again, I'm gonna blow my nose. So I'll stop my video. But yeah, I think Bridgerton's a good example of how something can go mainstream, and more people should just be, you know, just be comfortable liking what you like.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I think that's odd about romance is that people don't object, like cozy mysteries, they all have romances in them. No one ever starts getting squirrely with that. Like I you know, like even, you know, thrillers, Jurassic Park, like there's romances in everything. It's part of life. I don't understand why it gets such a bad rap when you just have a full of it. But you know, but Bridgerton, I mean, I watched, I never read the books, mind you. I've read other Julia Quinn, but I've never read those ones. But I thought it was so well done, really. I was very engaged with it, you know, and it didn't, I mean, I'm pretty convinced that the producers updated and the writers updated, because I feel like those books are really old. Like,
Mm-hmm. I mean, I probably read them 10 plus years ago, so yeah.
Oh, it's old. Oh, it's only 10 years. I thought it was older than that.
It may be.
Because I thought they might have been bodice ripper generation novels.
Oh, no. I read them when I started reading romance.
Okay. Yeah, because I wasn't sure. I didn't know, because like I said, I haven't read them, so I thought they'd been really updated. But, you know, I thought it was really well done. But
yeah, I love Regency romance. That's like a thing of mine. And actually the first romance novels I ever read were Georgette Heyer's Regency romances. I still like reread them all the time. Like I'm obsessed with them. And those were written in like what, the 50s or the 40s or something. And they're great because, and I started doing that because I like Jane Austen, and I was sad that there was no more Jane Austen to read. So my friend was like, oh, try Georgette Heyer. So Bridgerton's like right in my sweet spot, except that it's not queer. But I'll still watch anything that's like Regency related or anything like that. And I agree. I think that they were clearly updated. First of all, they put in more people of color, obviously, which thank you, Shonda. And yeah, I thought they were really well done. I thought they were really accessible. I'm pretty sure, like my husband, I kind of like stealth got him into Jane Austen. I didn't tell him it's considered romance. and we watched like the, Colin Firth Pride and Prejudice, and he was like, this is so awesome, I can't wait to read these books. And I was like, yeah, it's considered romance. And he was like, you got me. But he loves them now. So like, they're like comfort reads and comfort watches now. So I think it hits that spot that is a really good introduction to romance for people, because it does have like the historical element and the sassy, heroine kind of butting her head against her society, and just, these are really great staples of romance. So I think you're right. I think it's a really cool introduction, an accessible introduction to romance. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think I have several friends who watched the series and went back and read the books who had never been romance readers before. And all of a sudden it just flashed into my mind that the only other time that I can remember that happening was the sort of 50 Shades phenomenon, when the movies and the books, and the less said about that the better. But I think that I think that brought people into romance in a new way and made them realize there's not a huge leap from Grey's Anatomy to Bridgerton. Or sort of Chandra's other works. And I think suddenly people realize this is much more accessible than I may have thought when I'm looking at this book and I'm imagining what it might be like when you see it out there on screen. That suddenly brings sort of a new perspective to what people are willing to read, what they're willing to look for and pick up.
And I would also say Outlander. I know a lot of people went back after Outlander came out and watched it. Although Outlander, I'm pretty sure the only queer character is the villain, which always pisses me off. But
she fixed it in later books.
Okay, cool. I didn't read them.
Isn't there?
Yeah, I haven't read them, but as I understand it, the descendant of that guy, the villain,
Cool.
Ends up being awesome later, as I understand it. I haven't read
the
them,
descendant is cool, like the one that she married originally. He's a cool guy, but I
think there's a side stories. Yes.
Okay.
Anybody who's watching who knows, chime into the chat.
Yeah, I stopped watching after like season 2. I like it a lot. I'll probably go back to it. I just haven't had time. Yeah, but I think that was another one too.
Example, you're right, of what was a romance novel, and I think a lot of people who just happened to have stars picked it up, who had no idea that Outlander was this very long-running, Diana Gabaldon series that originally started as romance.
Romance.
For that matter, also the Sookie Stackhouse series, True Blood. Again, that was a romance that got translated to screen. So I think sometimes, I guess it goes back to what you were saying, Katey, with the sort of stealth ideas. Sometimes when you see it presented to you, not as a romance novel, it's enough to get that buy-in to then bring people into the.
Yeah, and Lafayette was like everyone's favorite character, like everyone's favorite character, and he was just unapologetically queer, and it was when he got his own romance. And it was really cool to see. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Right. I haven't read those either.
15 years ago that True Blood. Am I dating myself on TV?
It's interesting there too, because Lafayette was such a breakout character in the show. The first book ends with Lafayette's death.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
Spoiler, it's been decades, guys. I feel bad. But there's a body found at the back, and everyone thought it was going to be him, and they ended the first season on that cliffhanger. In the book, it was Lafayette who was killed, and then later on, they did kill his boyfriend.
Yeah.
And so some of those problematic tropes still remained in True Blood despite those things. But,
I think I stopped watching before Jesus died. Someone told me, I think, that he died, and I was like, I'm not watching it.
It was quite a pivot watching him from playing the dad on Ugly Betty, which is also an amazing breakout show that Disney did on ABC.
Yes.
And isn't he he's the ex on Lucifer?
Yeah, he's got.
It's weird every time I see him.
It's just weird to see him pivot around these roles. I'm like, God, one of those actors. Like, you are a chameleon. But I will never forget when Jesus shows up at the restaurant at Moat's and orders the veggie burger with bacon just to see if Lafayette will make it. I think that's one of my favorite scenes. He's like, I just wanted to see if you'd make it, a veggie burger with bacon.
So funny.
It's funny that you say Ugly Betty, because again, like now my mind is going back to all of these sort of early TV shows, but obviously the nephew is, I don't remember if they ever came out and said he's gay, but certainly telegraphed so.
His coming out story is beautiful in the final and fourth season. I actually went back and just watched it recently. Since I'm writing a rom-com, I've been rewatching Ugly Betty favorite scenes and episodes. So Justin goes through this wonderful transformation of, he's a very effeminate young man. He's very clear and his family's very accepting. Santos, his father, played by the same actor there, comes in and says, hey, let's play football. And the family, Hilda, who plays the mom on Love Victor,
Yes.
you can tell what I've been watching a lot of.
Right. It's all connected.
She says, no, this is who he is. And if you don't like that he's effeminate, if you don't like that he's into Broadway musicals, there's no space for you here. You either take him as he is or get out. And that was such a critical thing. And then in the final season, Justin goes through some levels of maybe I'm not gay. Everyone's expecting me to be gay. Am I gay? They did it. I really love the way they handled Justin in the final season. And I'm happy to see that actor too is in a new part on an Amazon show. I forget the name off the top of my head, but it's nice to see these actors moving on and getting to more in their career.
All right. So one thing I wanted to ask you guys is sort of moving to your own work. And we've talked about, sort of what maybe makes a good movie or TV show from a romance. So anything that you have written that what would you like to see turned into a television show or movie? And do you have a dream cast? So I should have given you warning on this question because it might be hard to come up with right away. But I'm sort of curious to think, I want you guys to be able to talk a little bit about your own work. What do you think might make it to a movie or TV or might work, Belle?
White Trash World would make an amazing TV series. I just want to say, because I've been listening to them, and like the visuals are so strong in my head. Like I just want to put that out there. So,
all right, David, hit us. Who would be your cast? Do you
I have done this all in my head and to depth. And my partner and I were playing with it a little earlier today. So I will not spend the rest of our time talking about this because I could. But my number one choices for Vic in my brain right now is Danny Ramirez, who is on Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So he would be a great Vic. He's got the right look. He's got the right presence. My number one choice for Adam is either Sean Grandilio, who has been on a couple of different things, but I think he's best known for, he was on The Real O'Neills as the love interest of the main character for a while. He was on MTV's Scream TV show. He was on this great YA show called Youth and Consequences, and he just was like, that would make such a great Adam. But if not him, Ross Lynch, who was on Sabrina, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. I think he'd make a great Adam. So, you got this thing in your brain about who they are, but of course, if it ever happens, that I would get a word. That's okay. But yeah, I have fan casted the entire series. But I will say this, I'll do Silver real quick. So this will be a small spoiler. Silver, I would love to see Silver played by Osric Cho, who was just on Star Trek Discovery this week as an alien, and I didn't even recognize him. But then later on, Silver has many faces, and Ludi Lind, who is a good friend of Osric's, and when he's Silver, Prince Silver, I think that would be amazing. And then I don't want to give it away. Yossi Sudaro is also a friend of theirs. So I think it'd be really cool to have these three guys play his three different faces, as well as the fact that they're all friends. It would be such an interesting shift. And then Kelly Marie Tran, I think she'd make an amazing Argent.
That was gonna be my question, actually, is who you would choose for her. I love Kelly Marie Tran.
When I saw her at the Last Jedi premiere with that amazing blue sparkle dress, that was was like total runway, gorgeous goddess, and like
obsessed with her.
Argent right there.
Major crush.
Katey or Casey, do you have your what you would want to see made to a TV or movie and your dream cast? Anything?
I mean, I've always wanted Cop Out. I figured that could make a made for TV movie, if nothing else.
I agree. I love that. Again, I love that book. I would love to see Cop Out as a major.
Thank you. But I've literally never dreamcast anything. Like I just don't think that way. I don't know. So yeah, like I would have no idea. None. not
I'm running
terrible.
through my Rolodex of actors for that book in my head.
Yeah, we're
Like,
gonna come up with it. We're gonna come up with it for sure.
We'll have to tweet at each other about it. Who do you think is
Right. I usually like when I make like promo graphics, I usually look through deposit photos or Adobe stock for like people that I can use with my subscription and like faces I can use without getting in trouble. So I generally do it like that. But when I was writing Alchemia, I definitely had an idea, and that's like a weird, it's got like Regency mores, but it's also like a fantasy world. So it's like historical fantasy kind of. Yeah, but I was definitely thinking of Preeti Zinta, who is an Indian actress for Eugenia. Yeah, so.
Comment from Jody. Who do we need to talk to get Adam his show?
Right?
My agents are on it. That's all I
Your
can
agents
say.
are on it.
Nice.
My agents are on it.
Oh, I will put in a plug just for a recent sort of book, in this case, book to stage. I don't know if any of you have read How
Yes.
to Repair a Mechanical Heart by J.C. Lillis, which is unbelievable romance, YA, mostly focused sci-fi. David, if you have not read this book, this
Yeah.
is your catnip.
It's so geeky. It's amazing.
Like, two geeky boys going to a Star Trek-like convention, shipping the main characters, and the book follows them.
It's like their
through
road trip.
multiple cons,
I
and
think I had bought this, but I haven't
it
read
is
this yet.
It's
the book is
magical.
amazing. But Jen actually has it optioned for a play, and I got a chance to see the launch party for the concept album and heard some of the songs, and it's amazing, and it's like being produced, it's written, and
Mhm. They have a
and
cast.
there's
Like,
music.
yeah.
It's amazing, and this is a gay romance, so keep your eyes out for it. I know
More
they
of
just
that.
publicly released the concept album, but David, yes, this is a book for you. I think the book is fabulous, so I'm super excited because I am friendly with Jen, and so happy for her. So I'm looking at comments. Comment from Suzanne. Oh, she's sure Katie's tired of her fangirling. And then I want the 3 dates of Christmas for the next holiday season.
That's way cooler than like the usual Hallmark movie. Come on.
I want to mention Gail Carriger's Parasol Protectorate series.
Oh,
which
yes.
is
Yes.
an option for animation, and that's a phenomenal series with
Wow.
amazing representation across all the spectrum.
Yes.
It is one of my favorite. And if you like Bridgerton,
Mhm.
you should really
Yeah.
be reading Gail Carriger. And that said, also, it's just been optioned for an animation by the people who made Castlevania on Netflix.
Wow.
I didn't know that. I love
Yeah, which is,
Castlevania.
and the Castlevania would make it like my epic fantasy. I'd love for them to do mine, put that in the universe. But what they'll do with Gail's, I am dying to see what they do with her stuff.
Okay.
And they're the people who make Steven Universe too, so they can do different. It doesn't have to all be dark. And
Oh, I didn't know it was the same studio. That's cool.
Yes, Parasol Protectorate does have, sort of some, I've read some of the books, not the whole series, but excellent. I got a question about the book I just mentioned, How to Repair a Mechanical Heart by J.C. Lillis.
So
it
good.
came out several years ago. It is now being made into a play by the same name, but the book is available. I'll just give it a big plug. Like I said, if you like sort of geeky hero, it's YA, but definitely sex content, road trip going
It's like
to
new
these
adult.
different yes, more new adult, going to these different conventions, and yeah, great book. So sorry, I don't
And
mean
she's
to
good
derail from what we're
people
talking about
too.
with you guys, but super exciting just to see something like that is sort of a niche book, and then is now getting this sort of full-scale treatment, to get gay leads, gay romance right in the forefront. So it's exciting to think about that coming to theater as well as TV and movies that we've been talking about. So we are just about at the end of our time. I'm just looking to see if we have any questions that we didn't answer. Just want to give you guys a chance just to say one last wrap up. Anything else you want to mention about yourself or your work or anything that we've talked about today?
So in my Facebook group, I make videos of me, like, and I have one series of videos called Is It Queer Enough? And I dissect like different TV shows. I did Discovery, I did Gentleman Jack, which is amazing. If you haven't seen it, everyone needs to watch Gentleman Jack. I've done like a bunch of random TV show. Black Sails is my all-time favorite TV show.
Oh, yes, you keep
Very
telling
good
me about that one.
representation. Yeah, very good representation. So I do little videos about it, and I'm going to start making more soon. So
Okay. Can you actually, what I should have asked is this, can you tell people where they can find you if they are looking to track you down after this?
yeah, Facebook.
Website, anything else? Where you are?
KateyHawthorne.com has links to everything
Okay,
for
great.
me.
Okay. Casey?
I don't I don't have a lot to say. You can find me at caseyburn.com. It's super out of date because yeah, I've had
Your life's crazy right now.
You're busy.
it's really been nuts. But hopefully after this move I can get back into a lot more writing.
David?
And read Cop Out.
Yeah,
Read Cop
So,
Out.
yeah.
great cop out. Do it.
So I'm pretty much everywhere except TikTok because I can't dance. There's another stereotype shattered. But the easiest place to find me is davidslayton.com. Just don't forget the R. There's a lot of Florida man types out there without the R, and it's kind of weird. I didn't realize that when I published. I might not have used my real name. But I'm most active on Twitter, social media. I have a flurry of news coming in the next couple of days. I think I've spoiled most of it here today, but yeah, watch for me there. And we're doing the cover reveal for Deadbeat Druid at the Nerd Daily on Thursday. So that'll be all over my stuff.
Nice.
Great. And once again, I'm Jay. I run the LGBTQ romance review blog Joyfully Jay. So if you're looking for reviews, you can check us out at joyfullyj.com. And I am also on Facebook and Twitter and Facebook group and all the other things. So I hope you can check that out as well as our fabulous authors. Thank you guys so much for your time today. It was great to talk to you. Really fun discussion. So I have all of these things now I need to be going off to watch and read. And also, if you are following along here online, you can get the rest of the schedule for Coastal Magic and for the panels this weekend at coastalmagicconvention.com. So please be sure to stop on by, check out our authors and the events going on for the rest of the weekend. And I'm really hoping that next year we'll be able to see you all live and in person.
So
Thanks
much.
a lot.
Great.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
It's been a blast.
Thank you. Thanks, Julie. Yay.